Hey everybody, it's Pete. Good morning. Welcome to a new episode of Stocks for Breakfast. It's Friday morning, October 15th, 2021. Thank you so much for joining me today. In today's video, we are waiting for Goldman Sachs earnings to come out. We had a bunch of them come out yesterday prior to the meeting, so we actually had some good numbers. So we're going to talk about Alcoa today, how the earnings came out in Alcoa. If Goldman gets announced during the meeting, we'll get in there. We're also going to announce the winners of the Stock Trading Pro Hatch yesterday. We had two winners. We're going to talk about that in a second. Because it's Friday, we're going to do a little bit more of an open mic type of thing. So we're going to answer your questions about which stocks you're looking at right now, maybe even some trades that you happen to be in right now. And we're going to talk about the sector rotation, which is continuing to go to the upside. But I got a big surprise today. I'm going to take you into one of the conversations that happened in our boot camp yesterday by Dilip. Dilip does a lot of detailed analysis on sector rotation, which that's a big part of what we do. And making a prediction about what's happening in the market today based on sector rotation, also options expiration today, and what the numbers are showing for the market open, and then what the numbers are showing for how he's anticipating the market closing today. That's how much detail we get to in the boot camp, where you are actually scripting it out, knowing exactly what you expect to have happen, and then you trade based on exactly how it's unfolding. So we got a lot to talk about today. So I want you to have which stocks you'd like to throw into the mix today, and we'll do some quick chart reviews on that too. So stick around. I'll be back in just 1 second. Okay, so with every video that we do here, they're for educational purposes. Hopefully, I'm helping you make better decisions, but ultimately that decision is yours to make for the last decision before you hit that buy or sell button. I just want to say hello to everybody. Let's see. Lucky Far, stocks are my favorite breakfast. Yeah, me too. Me too. Elliot Franklin, good morning. Good morning. How are you? Hydery MD, good morning. Paul Costa, always a pleasure to see you here. Simon, how are you, pal? Minvai, always a pleasure. Minvai wins the award for the hardest working student in the boot camp for October. Good job, Minvai. Let's see, Barry Cannon. Hey, Barry, good morning. How's it going? That's a nice picture. I'm assuming that's you and your wife. Very nice picture. Rajesh, Upstart. Yeah, we've been on Upstart. Raise your hand if you've been trading net the last 7 to 10 days with us. Let's see, Michael. Yeah, by the way, did everybody see the news on Virgin Galactic? We're going to talk about that in a second. Let's see. Hey, Myers, good morning. Good morning. Kevin O'Toole. Oh, by the way, if you haven't signed up or joined our private Facebook group, Kevin O'Toole is right now asking some amazing questions in there. Click all the way down into the description and make sure you get into there and join the private Facebook group. So we're actually going to start out with Alcoa earnings. We're going to jump right into it, and then I'm going to hop right over into earnings. How the market's trading right now. Bitcoin is continuing to fly. We're going to talk about Virgin Galactic. And then we're going to segue into the post that Dilip put out there yesterday. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do that first. Let's actually head over to that first. I want to pull that up. And this is the part of the conversation. Remember yesterday we spent a lot of time talking about where I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to be better every single day. Go a little bit deeper. We talked about that. Sometimes there's a gap between where you are and where you want to be. This is what it takes. This is just an amazing piece of data analysis by Dilip. And this is exactly what we do in the boot camp every day, which is put all these pieces together. And we talk about building an argument. So I want to blow this up for you so you can actually read it in a little bit more detail. Okay. So Dilip is a member of our mastery program. So he runs these stats all the time. Something interesting happened that I haven't seen since keeping track of this since mid-May. So he's doing this for about 5 months now. All sectors were green. So again, that one of the first things that we do, we go into sector analysis. That's the big part of the breakdown, which, by the way, basic materials creeping up, right? So let's see. All sectors were green in both the relative one-day performance and the 1 week performance. So just so you know, the one week performance is the last 5 days. It's not Monday through Friday. It's the last 5. It's the last 5 days. All right. So I want to make sure we give some full context. Put together all the instances where he has on record where sectors on the relative day and the next day's performance. Now, this is something that I want to get across to you. And we get a lot of questions during the day, especially by new people into the boot camp. asking, how do I trade the open? How do I know what's supposed to happen? The open is scary. The open's fast. The open's volatile. How am I supposed to do it? And here's the answer. You need to learn how to script what you expect to have happen on the open. So when the market opens, you're basically just sitting back, you have your coffee in your hand, and you're just looking for entries that perfectly match how you scripted the market out. Now, a lot of traders will come back and be like, oh my gosh, I had 7 stocks and only 2 did what I wanted them to. Awesome. Print money on those 2. Who cares about the other 5? So now we're going to get a little bit deeper into, by the way, if you're not doing that, that's what you need to learn how to do. So now here's the interesting part. I was surprised to see how many times we gapped up and saw buying in tomorrow's session as well, which, by the way, we get into today's price action. We're actually up 18 points already. Okay, so following through. I want to add that with the exception of this one day, none of the all green days occurred the day before monthly option expiration. So again, another thing about scripting out your success for today, especially 2 tough days to trade sometimes, options expiration and FOMC announcements. So you got to keep that in mind as well. And working a little bit deeper, here's the thing. In the case of 521, we gapped up and sold off during the session. So what is Dilip doing here? How deep is he going into this? He's running statistics on the market, which again, it's just day to day, running it in basic spreadsheets. So he could get, obviously we can give it to you if you're in the boot camp. Then you draw if-then scenarios. Remember, every single thing we do is if this happens, then I'm doing this. If this happens, then I'm doing this. So he just came up with some pretty interesting statistics. So let's actually just bring this home, which would be kind of fun to wrap up, which is basically he's expecting the market to open higher today with all of those stocks and all of the sectors green over those 2 time periods, but he's not expecting the market to close on the highs today or close above the opening price today. So that's pretty interesting. So we're throwing in the mix the strength of everything over the last day and the last 5 days, drawing conclusions based on previous data, and then scripting out what we're planning for today. So here's the big thing, and this is something that doesn't get talked about quite often, quite honestly, is how does that affect your share size? So let's say, for argument's sake, and let's add the market internals into that. We're watching, we're building the argument about sector ETFs and how the market internals advance decline and all the other stuff that we watch. How does that affect your position sizing? So if Dilip has this thought process for during the day, the market does exactly what it's expecting to, but then in the afternoon, the market internals start to turn a little bit bearish, which is after this 5-day rally to the upside. How do you affect your position sizing? Do you lower your position sizing? Do you move up your trailing stops? Do you book profits on swing trades because you're expecting a pullback? Do you push up and pause looking for another piece? These are the things that you need to learn how to do. Again, most traders find trading hard. Trading is the easy part. All of this mindset stuff and scripting this stuff out before the market even opens, that's where you earn your money. After the market opens, you're literally just sitting back executing your plan, which is why trading itself is simple. It's learning how to get ready to trade. That's the part that usually is the biggest gap between where you are now and where you want to be. So again, I want to challenge everybody right now. Have a stock that you'd like to discuss. We're going to talk about that in the last 15 minutes of today's call. All right. So yeah, net, actually, Russ Marshall, net has been on fire. Myers, we're going to talk about Bitcoin today. So does everybody understand what we just talked about there? All right. So still don't see Goldman Sachs. We're going to hop on over to Bitcoin. Bitcoin tops 60,000, nears the record high, which I think is 64,000. We'll take a look at that right now. Actually, let's take a look. And then we're going to take a look and see which stocks we'll be looking to trade. So here's the move in Bitcoin last night. Got over 60,000. A little bit of a pullback, but order flow looks like it's reasserting itself again. And here's the move that we're watching in Bitcoin. Let me see. I'm pretty sure 64,000 is the all-time high, if I'm not mistaken, which is kind of over here. So just above 65. So that's great, right? Bitcoin's continuing to go up. So we are here to talk about stocks. Stocks for breakfast. Which stocks we're going to be buying today based on Bitcoin. So if you know one of the favorite ones that I'm trading or have been in back and forth with, Marathon. Okay, so we're going to take a look at Mara right now. So I'm looking at Bitcoin futures and then which stocks I'm going to be looking to trade off those Bitcoin futures. Very similar to the stocks and futures. Futures markets move, then we start to pay attention to which stocks will be trading in those movements. Okay, so Mara is yesterday on the close, if you happen to be in the boot camp and you watched my nightly game plan video, which I send out to everybody, 44 was the big level. We punched above 44 yesterday, pulled back, fought all the way back up. A lot of people know this kind of a candle as a hammer candle, where it punched down, pushed back up. And let me zoom that out a little bit, specifically talking about that one. So 44 was the level. And now you can see over here with Bitcoin bouncing, it's all the way up at 45.31. So this will absolutely be in our radar right now. A couple of other ones that we pay attention to is Riot. Riot has actually shown some relative weakness. So you could just like that, right? This is, again, we actually had a question yesterday from somebody asking me about Zoom. Actually, I think it might have been Kevin, who I just mentioned before from the Facebook group. So I want to talk about this. I want to talk about Zoom on the way down versus this stock, which has had good relative strength and breaking out. For me personally, I understand why somebody might be looking at Zoom, maybe thinking about it's turning around, very similar to what we've been walking recently about Roku, as well as Baba, right? Those two stocks also are turning around. So what I'm doing right now is I'm leaning a lot more towards stocks, and this is what we, this is really the primary way we look at things, is we find obvious order flow, and those are our first choices. This is a really, really, really big deal, okay? I want you to write this down. We all have a choice of everything that we could look at during the day. You need to start out with what perfect looks like. So what does a perfect trade look like? And let's actually pull that up on the screen right now, just so we have some context. That's a perfect trade right now. And again, if you are a regular subscriber of the channel, you know we've been talking about this stock almost this entire move from this pause here to this bullish U-turn to the well-bid candlestick, and since it took off. If you're not a subscriber of the channel, you're missing this kind of stuff. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like button so you get updates. Once you understand what perfect looks like, here's the choices you have. Now, I don't know if anybody here watches football. My favorite sport is baseball, but I love to watch football the most. When you're a quarterback, you have your primary play and then you have your secondary plays, okay? You obviously want your primary play. So when you're looking at a stock like Net, this would be the primary play, and you're like, okay, what's the risk, what's the reward, and what is the odds of following through and making money that justifies the risk? So this would be at the top of the list, right? Probably a little bit overbought at this point based on how we do our tape reading. But so you have a choice of looking at something like Net over the last bunch of days or Zoom. So you can see kind of on the other side of the spectrum. So this could possibly be a trade, but it's not your A+ trade. So here's the thought process behind this. Kevin brought the question up. Not for me right now personally, okay? I am always going through my progression of where are my A+ trades, and then you work your way down based on how the market's unfolding. If you have your longs and the market's unfolding perfectly, you trade them like a pro. If you have your longs and the market's rolling over, you could either be back in cash or have a list of stocks you might potentially short sale. So the whole takeaway of everything I just mentioned was you need to go into the day with your A+ trades, and those are the first ones. Then you kind of work your way down. It just makes perfect sense that you are first risking on the best trades, and then you kind of work your way into the other ones. If you work your way into the other ones, they have to be lower position sizing if they're less than perfect. But here's the thing. Since our three pillars are stacking the order flow, tape reading, and risk reversal, it's imperative that you first start out with learning how to stack the order flow, because if you don't understand when the situation is awesome, then everything looks the same if you don't know the difference. So your number one priority is first stacking the order flow and then having a progression of ideas, which takes us into Virgin Galactic today. All right, so Bitcoin, actually, let me finish up on that. So Bitcoin, we're obviously, just so everybody has something to keep an eye on today. Mara, we're looking at to hold above 44 today. Riot, we just mentioned, is one of the stocks that we normally trade, but it's showing a disconnect, it's showing relative weakness. If you want something a little bit less expensive, BTBT or HUT. So those are the four that we're monitoring based on how Bitcoin is trading. And I'll give Aldo all the credit in our community. Aldo is the one. So again, we're looking at Goldman Sachs earnings, which haven't come out yet. So we're kind of making a shift here. So that's how we're taking a look at Bitcoin today. Next, Virgin Galactic. So now we work our way over into a news story about something that is getting hammered. It was actually down 20% before. I think it's bounced just a little bit. And obviously this news, yeah, it's down 18.5% right now. This news is coming out just a couple of days after the Jeff Bezos launch, Captain Kirk going into space. I don't know if everybody watched that. It was pretty interesting, pretty darn cool. So now this comes down to questions I'm getting already about bottom fishing this stock. We just discussed we need to stack the order flow. Can you look at the stock right now and say, even if you don't understand how we stack the order flow in the boot camp, can you look at this right now and say, my gosh, buyers are all over this thing. I can't wait to piggyback for this ride. No, you can't. So what would we be looking for? Well, we'd be looking for an increase in the tape. We'd be looking for the tape to wake up. We'd be looking for smart money, for deep pockets to be allocating money to this. And we'll start to see that in energy candlesticks. We might start to see some candlesticks like this that head off and stay there. And then we want to see that from 1 week to the next. We want to see volume increasing. We don't want to be the first person bottom fishing this. If you start to bottom fish this, I understand. I don't do that anymore because we want to first see signs of life, which we in another stock we're going to talk about in a second. So I'm not seeing it yet. Just because it's down 20% doesn't make it a buying opportunity. If you want to start purchasing this because of the pullback and because you think it's bottoming out, because you think this bad news is now priced in, if I was doing that, it would be on maybe 25% of my intended goal of how many shares I'd like to get, because that's just smart trading. Let's face it. Why would I bottom fish with full share size if the stock is getting clobbered? It could bounce today. Maybe we start building a position, and as smart money starts to dip their toes in, we join them. That's the whole point of understanding how to stack the order flow. How long has smart money been buying this stock? They're not yet. So why should we be dipping our toes in if the smart money, the reason stocks go up and down, hasn't started yet? Why would we? If we decide to do it, it should just be a smaller piece to have it in your position summary so you can start reading the tape in this stock. Something else we want to take a look at, and Goldman still hasn't reported yet, Tilray. Lynn mentioned these yesterday. We're starting to look at these stocks. There's a whole bunch of conversations about legalization and that kind of stuff. Is it time to start dipping your toes in there? We are starting to see a little bit of a volume spike. So if we go over here, you can see the volume recently. This day right here did not hold the bid. So remember, we're waiting. We're looking for changes, and then we're looking to see if it holds the bid. We're looking for changes, and we're looking to see if it holds the bid. In this case here, we saw a little bit of a spike, rolled over again. So we're looking for another spike. So we're looking for clues in Tilray. We're looking for clues in CGC. And actually look at CGC there. That's actually a little bit better. Look at the volume spikes here in CGC and GRWG. I know there's a whole bigger list than that, but those are the primary ones. And again, look at GRWG. Do you think something's changing here? Do you think you could start to pay attention to this and then learn how to put those pieces together? This is what professional traders do. This is how you get to the point where you bring in more data, you bring more information, you start to build the tape, you start to read the order flow, you start to stack the order flow, and you start to put these pieces together. And you know what? You sit up and you're like, huh. And then all of a sudden it starts to go into your game plan and you start to make decisions. So you can see the bigger picture here, which is very important, right? Before I move to the next thing, I want to talk about Alcoa, and then I'm going to announce the two people who won the Stock Trading Pro hats yesterday. So Alcoa, which is, you can see the box that it's been kind of stuck in, really hasn't done anything that much, but we've been talking about the sector rotation every day, and we've been watching basic materials creep up the list. So you can see the day it had yesterday, and you can see the week it's been having, and it's been slowly working its way higher. So Alcoa reported yesterday. We'll actually get into the numbers here in a second. So here's what Alcoa reported. Just so let me zoom that out a little bit. Better than expected results. So we know that we want to go across the board and get a little bit more detail on that. Earnings per share beat 205 versus 179. Sales 3.1 compared to 2.9. So that's good. But remember what we discussed yesterday. The raw numbers are not what we're looking for. Remember, we're looking for a catalyst. We're looking for a revision to the expectations. So what we need now is we need to know the growth percentages of each of these numbers. When you start to look at this, you want to pay attention to guidance. Remember, guidance means we're buying tomorrow's earnings. We're not buying yesterday's earnings. So we want to see a history of growth better than expected. So the raw numbers, remember, we talked about this yesterday. The raw numbers, you can see a stock go up in revenue, but the stock go down because the numbers don't make sense from a growth perspective from what was expected. Like JP Morgan yesterday, 2 days ago, actually, we're going to take a look at those in a second. Revenue was up 500 million from the previous year-over-year number, 500 million, and the stock still got hammered the next day. Financials picked up a little bit of a bid yesterday, so all those numbers are still starting to get digested. So if we get into a little bit more, now we start talking about the percentages. Beat by 6.1%, and earnings per share beat by 14.53%. So if you remember what we've been talking about, each individual sector, each individual group has their own catalyst, own value drivers for shareholders that you need to pay attention to. So as of right now, if you can see all the way in the bottom corner over here, just to zoom that out for you, they're actually liking the percentages right now. So now, what is this? Is this a trade? Well, it's absolutely going to be a day trade for me today because the day after the numbers, we keep getting that catalyst like we talked about JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, still waiting on Goldman Sachs, which hasn't reported. So we're going to talk about the financials in a second. So I like this stock. I'll be day trading this stock today, but I like it better over 52, and it's placed right at that level. So today we could be looking to initiate a swing trade on top of the fact, again, stacking the order flow that we paid attention for the last 2 weeks now. Basic materials sector working its way up, and we're starting to see these stocks start to have a little bit more life to them. I want to announce the two people that won let me get it for you. Hang on one second. We actually had a sweepstakes yesterday to win our stock trading pro hat. So we had Annette Randolph and Dennis Thomas. So Annette Randolph and Dennis Thomas, our customer support staff, will reach out to you today. Thank you so much for downloading the PDF. If you didn't happen to grab your copy of it, this is the PDF that we're talking about, Smart Money Footprints. So Annette Randolph and Dennis Thomas. All right, so what we're going to do now is we talked about Bitcoin, the mining stocks. Let's go back into the financial stocks that we've been watching. So JP Morgan got hit hard after the earnings, and yesterday traded back into what we call a bullish U-turn and trading up a little bit today. So if you remember when the numbers came out, hey, Dennis, awesome. I'm glad you're on the call with us today. That's awesome. So if you remember, we talked about the immediate announcement of the numbers, and then usually it takes a day or two to get them digested. So if you get good at understanding the revisions, then you could trade that right away on the day of the earnings. So it was actually a short sale the day the earnings came out. Now the numbers are getting digested a little bit more, and JP Morgan traded into a bullish U-turn yesterday. So you can see buying came back in, it traded down and reversed. And then we started to put all the pieces together. Remember, stacking the order flow. You start with the market, then you go to the sectors, then you go to the industry groups. We started to pay attention to the banks. So we started to look at JP Morgan yesterday. All right. So we're actually going to show you, even if you're not day trading, that's fine. So this is what JP Morgan looked like yesterday. This is what Morgan Stanley looked like yesterday. This is what Citigroup looked like yesterday. So a lot of the banks now diving a little bit deeper into the industry group and the area. Wells Fargo also reported. But Wells Fargo, remember, we said they weren't as good. So now we're starting to put these pieces together. So here's what's kind of cool about stacking the order flow, reading the tape, risk reversal. Those are the three pillars, right? Even though those stocks did not have numbers that blew out the street as far as earnings, the next day, buyers started to come back in and they were day tradable. So we looking at them from a different perspective. And Morgan Stanley, once Morgan Stanley hit key levels and kind of squeezed the shorts a little bit, it was a little bit of a better opportunity in the afternoon. So this is where you start to stack the order flow. When we say stacking the order flow is one of the three pillars that we do. You start out in different time frames and you build that argument again with the market. Then you stack the sectors, then you stack the groups, and then you add the volume and price action of the individual stocks. Once you understand this, remember what we said, the hard part of trading is before the market even opens. That's the prep part. And again, after the market opens, we sit back, we have coffee, and we just look for entries and exits and position management. That's where it becomes a lot easier once you understand exactly what you plan to do prior to the market opening. All right. So what I want to do now still doesn't look like Goldman has reported. So we're actually going to take a dive now into your ideas, what stocks that you want to take a look at today. So again, Annette Randolph and Dennis Thomas. The one I want to point out today, which is pretty interesting, is Run. Run actually had this broke the downtrend. So Run and JKS have been watching. Run broke the downtrend. So again, this is a lot more industry specific. Run broke, bounced, paused. So now I'm looking to initiate a first piece of a new trade because it's the first time it's breaking the bearish order flow, the first time it's rallying, and now it paused. So now I'm looking for an initial piece in Run as a swing trade. Because we don't have a lot of bullish history here, there's no reason in the world for me to go in heavy because the smart money is just dipping their toes in. So remember that. What is the smart money doing? Can you look at a stock and say, they are doing something obvious, I want to piggyback on them, versus did they just start and I'm just going to start? Think about how much money you could have saved by having the right position size early instead of sizing up on every trade because you don't understand what it means to have an edge. Remember, if every trade looks the same, you don't have an edge. And that means you just need to work a little harder on putting that edge together. If you want my edge, you can get down, click the link below the video, and join us in the boot camp. It's 30 days for $295. I don't know if you can get a better deal to get involved and get all of this stuff, including my entries, my exits, my coaching calls, everything. Okay, now, so let's hop into your ideas. I want to get into some of the ideas that you're looking at. So let's actually go through them. Let's see. John A. looking at Walgreen Boots Alliance. So let's take a look at that. All right. WBA, if I'm not mistaken, just had earnings yesterday. I'm pretty sure they did, right? And they're following through. So how are we looking at this from an order flow perspective? Can we say that smart money has been trading the stock for a while and we are looking to piggyback? Give me a little bit of an answer. How long has smart money been doing something obvious in the stock? The way I look at it is yesterday. That's it. So if they're only getting started yesterday and the previous 3 months of price action have been back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and not much going on, I like the idea. It would not be full share size for me. This would be an idea that would either be a day trade or something that I'll be looking to build a position in. Jason Miller, always a pleasure to see you, pal. Let's see. Minvai, I'll trade my Nike cap for the white version. Let's see. I want to keep getting along. I want to see Plug. Plug was a big topic of conversation yesterday. All right. So remember, we've been talking about Plug. We talked about a big part of trading, Plug. And I'm just going to come back on here for 1 second. Remember, the big part of trading is picking a side, then picking a spot. The side of Plug was very obvious, right? Obviously, buying came into the stock, but then we also talked about the percentage gain that the stock had over a 5-day period. Now, you had to make that distinction. Is this stock an investment or is it a swing trade? If it's an investment, you're hanging on. This is great price action. If it's a swing trade, you have to take a step back and say, what are the odds of the stock going up just as much for the risk I have to take over the next 3 to 5 days? So we had a lot of conversations in Plug yesterday in reference to what we call our profit maximizer, which is understanding how to squeeze the most out of your winning trades. Remember, when you learn how to squeeze more out of your winning trades, the losses don't matter. It's just paying the bills. That doesn't make a difference. It's learning how to make more in your winners that separates you from the crowd, separates you from a chart reader who's struggling to somebody who knows and expects to make money. So Plug, what's going on, right? Obviously, we talked about it yesterday. We kind of expected this. We didn't expect it to go up again. That's for sure. Not at least yesterday. So now probably, and the conversations that I've been having, for me personally, it's got to be in the list as an active day trader, specifically because of the liquidity and the volatility. There's attention on the stock right now. I'm not looking to swing trade the stock, though, until it pulls down closer to 30, maybe even 28. That's how I'm looking at the stock right now. Okay, let's see, Kevin, Facebook. Oh, my gosh, this stock's been getting its head beat in, right? So now we need to look at Facebook and say, is this bullish order flow or bearish order flow? Well, we can clearly see how long the bullish order flow is in place. But now the tape has changed. If you've been paying attention, they've been getting hammered with whistleblower conversations and all of that kind of stuff. And now you can clearly see that the order flow is bearish. Maybe yesterday's price action. Actually, let me get this off of the screen so it's easier to see. We actually broke this downtrend yesterday. So that's actually starting to turn around. Maybe we have a short-term bottom here. But if you look over the last 5 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to zoom that out just a little bit more so you can see it. Remember, the types of candlesticks that start to make us sit up in our seat is when smart money has attention on stocks. The opposite of that is when you see these last 5 candlesticks, which are called melted candles. Melted candles have small bodies, which means that represents a lot of indecision. So if you're looking at Facebook right now, you could be making that distinction. Well, it's fallen from 380 down to 316. Maybe it's too much to the downside. Maybe all the price action is the bad news is priced in. That's a lot of maybes. Maybes don't pay the bills. Maybes are, let's take a shot. And I'll tell you right now, if you were trading my money, I wouldn't be doing that. You wouldn't be in my trading floor for more than a day if you said maybe, 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 maybe. No, maybe doesn't work. And this has nothing to do with Kevin. Kevin asked some really good questions. I'm just giving you insights because we get a lot of traders that come to the boot camp and they're asking, why do I know everything, but I can't get paid? I mean, raise your hand if you felt that way at some point in your trading. I know everything. I know every candlestick, every moving average, every indicator, but I can't get paid. It's because of these maybe type trades where maybe it'll reverse. Maybe it'll go up over the next 2 days. Maybe it's fallen far enough. That's the opposite of stacking the order flow. That's the opposite. So if you're taking some of these maybe trades where maybe Zoom will reverse, maybe Facebook will reverse, maybe Roku will reverse, that's not enough information. You're guessing. You want to stack the odds in your favor because something is happening, whether it's price action, whether it's volume, whether it's news, whether it's a catalyst, whether it's an upgrade, a new CEO, whatever it happens to be. There has to be a reason to justify risk. It's fallen too far would get you thrown out of my office in New York City. That's not a reason. All joking aside to Kevin. Obviously, Kevin can take it. This has nothing to do with Kevin. I'm giving you, I'm going to call somebody out here. Hans, I'm giving you. I'm giving you a conversation. Mr. Justo, all right? This is the point. You need to get to profitability, to get to consistency, to act, feel, and think like a trader. You have to stack the odds before you choose to take risk. And again, I joked around about this the other day, but it's the absolute truth. Pretend you had your grandmother's money and she brings you, like my grandmother brings you a coffee can and she's like, okay, we're going to put all this money into my bank account. And then we're going to move it into my trading account. And Lewis, I want you to manage my money and only put it into good ideas. If you start trading ideas like this with your grandmother's money, she's going to be pretty angry. She's not going to make meatballs for you on Sunday. At least my grandmother would have done. So again, could this stock bounce? Maybe. Is maybe a great idea? Hell no. Learn to stack the odds and justify accepting risk. And that's where you start to move closer and closer to you, avoiding all those bad ideas. And you start to get to the point where you're only taking good ideas and then you let the edge do the hard work. That's the place where you want to get to in trading. If you're finding trading really difficult right now, there's been a ton of opportunity this month. September was okay. October has been good. There's been opportunities where you're really digging in and finding ideas because you're tracking and following the order flow, especially on the sector rotation that we do every day. And if you want, take a snapshot of this so you can see what's leading right now. If you want to take a quick screenshot so you can get an idea of what we'll be focusing on right now. If trading is difficult for you right now, I'm telling you right now, this month, there's been plenty of opportunity. Plenty of opportunity. We just showed you net. We're talking about UPST. There's a ton of ideas right now. It just means you got to go one level deeper to dig these ideas out and then one level deeper to script what you're looking to do. All right, so let's go back over to the screen. And I want to pull up a couple more ideas. Let's see. Lewis talking about MGM. And all right, let's take a look at MGM. We know that MGM exploded, right, a couple of days ago. Let's just get a little bit of a bigger picture here so you can see where it is in the bigger time frame. So you want to know something, Lewis? I actually like this idea. This actually has started to push and pause, and now push and a 2-day pause. I'd absolutely be giving this a look in my game plan today. So that's actually a good call there, Lewis. I like that one. Let's see, Roku. Roku change your trend. Yep, this is one that we've been doing a deep dive in the boot camp, and you can see here how we've been working the chart. This is where it started to pull into our attention. So this is a big deal. Let me actually zoom out a little bit here. Right here is where it started to become interesting for us. It gapped here, broke the trend here, and you can see that the bearish order flow gapped here, and it might have been Kevin O'Toole that I spoke to. I said, not yet for me. It needs to hold this bid. So that was the start. So if you remember what we keep talking about, there's your trading game plan and your tracking journal. Trading game plan means I'm looking at it today. Tracking journal means I'm going to set an alert. And when it becomes interesting with price action, volume, sector, all of those kind of things, then we'll start to map out a trade. Not yet. And good thing, right? We didn't see follow through. We didn't see what we needed to see. If I get this, then I plan to do this. Well, I didn't get what I looked to see, so I did nothing. But now the stock bottomed out, and you can start to see now we're starting to see pushes and pauses in that direction. So this is the infancy of the move to the upside. So now we need to see from a couple of days to maybe another week to confirm this move to the downside, and we can start to get a little bit more conviction inside of looking at Roku. So again, Kevin had spoke about Zoom. We're looking at Roku and a couple of those stocks, and we just talked about Facebook. So remember, obviously joking around just a little bit for effect, but I want to tell you this. If you're struggling, you have to learn first to avoid those ideas that don't make sense and start only taking those ideas that start with perfect or as close to perfect as possible. I still don't see Goldman Sachs numbers. I was hoping that was going to be the talk of the day. So anyway, that was what we have today. So I just want to congratulate the two people that won the Stock Trading Pro hats. Really excited to be sending those out to you. I just want everybody to know I really, really love doing these calls. We just started doing them about a month ago, and getting involved with everybody here, whether you're here or you're in our private community inside the boot camp. I just want you to know how grateful I am that you've chosen to be here with me. I promise you these are going to keep getting better and better and better every day. And I'm really, really excited that you are here with me. It's 7:30 in the morning, and I'm going to tell you right now, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, you're making time, you're choosing to be here. That shows how much you want success. That shows how bad you want to go from here to here. And all I'm requesting from you is participate, smash that like button, hit subscribe. But even more importantly, after the call's over and maybe you watch it one more time, ask questions, leave comments below, and we'll go back and forth. As long as we can answer those for you, we'll definitely leave an answer for you in the comments. So have an awesome day, everybody. I want you to know how much I really appreciate it. Have a good options expiration day. Remember that today. Afternoons can get a little bit challenging. And have an awesome weekend if I don't speak to you as well. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care.